Ah, it feels so good to be back live and with you, no less. How exciting.
Even better.
Yay!
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Hey everybody, welcome to No Vacancy Live. Of course, I'm Glenn Hausman. Today we are joined by the incredible Dr. Producer Suzanne Bagnara. How are you today?
I'm so excited to be here with you today.
I am too. So thank goodness we got rid of that other guy today, so I can have a classy co-host today.
So I wore my gold shimmers just for this.
Yeah. So hey, I'm sorry we didn't do a show last Thursday. We had to cancel. We're gonna get back Larry Kukolik, the president and CEO of Best Western Hotel Group, on soon enough, but we didn't feel with the hurricane that was going on that we were going to talk about the hospitality industry when so many people were suffering. Just smacked a bad taste for me. So we postponed Larry. Larry will be back soon. But I'll tell you, Suzanne, I had the opportunity last week to go and be part of the opening for the brand new Everhome Suites by Choice Hotels. And you can catch our special report on that. I did a short form report that I released on Friday and a full length show with Ron Burgett, the Chief Development Officer, and Anna Skosafava, who's their SVP in charge of that division with the extended stay division. Also, Suzanne, while you're at it, now would be a good time to invest in Choice Hotels because they've got great new product line. Not only have they absorbed the Radisson Hotel family with such great brands as Radisson Blue, Radisson Red, Country Inn, and Suites, but now they got incredible new brands such as Everhome Suites. Suzanne, I can tell you, I got to stay in that hotel. I stayed there 3 nights. What a great product.
I didn't get any text messages this time with any inside scoop. I'm kind of disappointed, Glenn. You let me down.
I'll tell you why, because I used it as a time for some quiet time for myself. There was nobody around. The hotel had just opened up. So they were only, they were still ramping up with occupancy and stuff like that. Plus everyone was getting ready for the opening. So I had some time to just kind of hang out on my own, which was really good. I got to think things through that I want to be doing this particular year moving forward. So it was good. It was good to be there and have that nice space in order to live, work, and play in one atmosphere.
And to be there for the grand opening like that. I think that's one of the most fun times to be in a hotel when it's fresh and it's clean and it's new beds and it's like ribbon cutting to get through the door and you kind of like leave your mark. It's a fun experience.
Yeah. So when we were there, CEO Pat Pacious, I was talking to them and he challenged Ron Burgett and the development team to do 1,000 of these guys with one open. They don't have that much farther to go.
Wow.
They already have 50. They already have 50 in the pipeline. So that's pretty good. But, one of the things that I really liked about that hotel, outside the hotel, there was this great shopping center and it had all these great places to eat. But the one thing that they didn't have, Suzanne, was a good place for some really delicious pizza and Italian food and some wines. And I miss that. So that's why we got with us today, Jen Reyneri.
Hey,
one of the owners of the Grove, the Cucina and Wine Bar. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm a little envious of your quiet time, some space to just hang out and relax. Don't tell anybody.
No, it was great. And the good news is my family will not watch the show, so we'll have no clue. Uh-oh, she totally dropped off. And she's coming back.
Sorry.
I mean, Jen, thank goodness you were there because it is impossible for me to just talk for an hour.
We need to have that friendship conversation happening, That's
yeah.
hospitality, right? That's hospitality.
For sure. All right. So, Jen, you're down there in the Jupiter, Florida area where Anthony's consulting on a brand new hotel opening.
Right.
So that's kind of exciting. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here today to join us, but it gets me thinking a little bit about the hospitality industry and the restaurant side of the business as well. You guys have been through a lot of challenges over the last few years. No reason to even go into that. I want to talk about going forward. There's still a lot of challenges out there in the market. How are you at the Grove keeping yourselves relevant and connected to the community in a meaningful way?
I think you nailed the word absolutely right there. It is the community, first and foremost, the reason we even opened the restaurant.
Right.
So, there have been challenges, there have been issues. It's apparent. Everybody, and if you don't know that there have been extreme challenges in the restaurant industry, you must have been under a rock for the last
Right.
however many years, right? But we constantly have guests still come in the restaurant, which is, by the way, only open 5 nights a week from 5 to 9 p.m. So that's one of the ways that we pour into our staff to continue to create that family atmosphere and that community atmosphere and show them that they are so important to us. But when our guests will come in and they'll be like, "Oh, how's business?" Well, it's miraculous. We're still open and we're still married. So we're just keep going. Sorry, my husband Luis couldn't be here with us today, but it's really our heart when we opened this restaurant a year before COVID was to and the reason we called it the Grove even was to build that community that where we would pull deep roots in that could produce some good fruit together. And
I thought it was just because you were a fan of an LA-based shopping center, but
or the Coconut Grove in Miami where my husband was raised. And when we lived in Italy for the summer, we had orange groves, peach groves, lemon groves, obviously vineyards and olive groves. So things were growing everywhere.
I hear you. I'm on Long Island, so it's nearly like living in Italy over here. Yeah.
Exactly like it, right?
Big Italian population here is what I'm saying. It was great because I grew up, in the school district I grew up in. It was very, very Italian, and I come from the Jewish side, and culturally, both are very aligned, except for the little Jesus thing going on over there. But other than that, it's kind of the same archetypes you have between the Jewish grandmother and the Italian grandmother. So I grew up very inculcated into that world. I love Italian food, and I love the neighborhood Italian restaurant. What made you go down that journey to create an Italian restaurant when there are so many other food groups coming into the fore right now that are getting a lot of popularity?
It was definitely the hospitality and the experience that we had when we lived in Italy that summer. It was 2004. We had a baby in tow, and we had sold everything we owned and left behind our life in Las Vegas, where my husband was a sommelier and I had a consulting marketing company. And we left it all in search of studying food and wine while he studied for his master sommelier certificate.
Awesome.
And it was a summer in Italy where we had no idea where we were going to go and how we were going to make it through because our finances had fallen apart and our connections had fallen apart. And he had an internship coming, but it was about 2 months later. So we had this 2-month gap in Italy, not knowing where we were going. And so I'll never forget walking down to the smoky internet cafe before there was Wi-Fi, before there was GPS and smartphones, and walking into this internet cafe with a baby strapped on in the sling, having to send an email to the agriturismo board saying, "Hi, we're an American family studying your culture and food and wine, and we're broke, and basically we have 500 euros and we need like 6 weeks of lodging. Could anybody help us?"
Right.
And a day and a half, 2 days later, we went back to that same internet cafe expecting to open and see nothing. And instead I had dozens of responses to my plea, right? And it was really heartfelt. Like, I've got a baby. We're just here. We love it's Italy and we want to study and we want to be part of your community, but help us. We have no place to stay. And so we had like a selection of these beautiful agriturismo properties, these in the area of Chianti Classico, which is kind of where we had centered our place. And we ended up at this gorgeous little apartment home called Le Due Querce, the two oaks, in the middle of Ferragosto in August.
Right.
Having no idea that everything in Italy closes and everybody goes on holiday in August. So, like, you couldn't go anywhere. We literally just enjoyed fellowship and company and hospitality. And we took meals together with people from all over Europe and all over Italy who were staying at this apartment complex with us that summer. And it just was such a transformative experience in our lives that even after we got through our next 6 months and Luis had worked his harvests in France and in Germany with some fantastic, fabulous winemakers, we look back on that summer in Italy of like a time to really slow down and reflect on what was important. And Luis's grandfather had owned bars and restaurants in Cuba that were taken away when Castro came into power.
Yep. Wow.
And the hospitality had always been in his blood. And my family had a bed and breakfast and a restaurant in Germany that had been taken away when the Nazis came into power.
Wow.
And and so I grew up in a family business, and my mom had a retail shop. And while it wasn't food per se that we were hosting, we were always hospitable. We were always building our community. And my mom's door, my family's door, was always open to everyone, like people just in and out, and just hospitality was a part of who we grew up in.
So Suzanne, I'd love to get you to ask a question. Dylan, we'll get to your question in just a second. It's a good one as soon as we get towards that topic. Suzanne?
Well, what I love is the time that you spent in Italy has really transformed itself into the walls of your restaurant.
Yeah.
And so maybe just talking a little bit about how you've taken that transformative experience and how you continue with your wine. And I think actually tomorrow, don't you have like a huge event tomorrow?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So we had always been, and Louise had worked for other folks before we opened the restaurant. And we live in, our restaurant is a tiny little sleepy beach town called Hobe Sound, Florida. And when we moved here 12 years ago, which is kind of central between where my family is and where his family is in Miami, there was no place to write home about to go have any kind of a culinary experience. There were a couple of, Floridian staples that have been in our community forever, but nobody was pouring a decent glass of wine, we'll just say. And with all our expertise and experience, we had friends constantly asking us, please open a place, please open your place, please open your place. And so we did a year before COVID. And so we had to become very resilient to go through that. But I think those moments and that passion that we felt for gathering people and experiencing that, and not to mention we had 2 teen sons growing up that were, our oldest became part of our team, and we knew that, and we were a homeschooling family. So as much as education was a part of who we are as a family, so was work experience and work life experience, and teaching our family and our children how to have a great work ethic. And we knew that that was needed in our community as well for other young adults, not just ours. And so in the restaurant, we had as much of a heart to serve the next generation of hospitality professionals and culinarians as we did to serve our community with some great food and wine.
And that's so important, right, Suzanne? Great food and wine. Jen, it's very interesting to me that you're doing that real intensive focus on wine. Your husband, of course, you mentioned, has trained to become a master sommelier. How is that really helping define you and your point of view with your cuisine and drink?
So I would say it leads and partners alongside the menu that we put together. We're very Mediterranean, Italian influenced in our cuisine as well. But our chef Ian McHugh has Johnson & Wales background from Providence. He's from New England. So we'd like to, and he loves that we let him dabble a little bit too. So you're not going to find everything, it's definitely not an American Italian restaurant. I would say that's not our cuisine. But we've been able to sustain, and not just sustain, but win all sorts of amazing accolades through Luis's fantastic wine program direction. We've just 3rd year in a row, were awarded our Wine Spectator Award of Excellence. Until this year, we were one of only 2 restaurants in the whole county that had that Wine Spectator Award of Excellence. So we're really proud of that, and the wine program that we put together, not just with a constantly evolving and rotating wine list, as our guests will know. We have over close to 200 selections at the moment, close to 75 wines by the glass, I think. And
wow, that's pretty awesome.
I had to actually, I was in back and forth with someone from Wine Spectator this morning who was asking how many bottles in our cellar right now. I said, well, close to 1,000 at the moment, and just really constantly rotating. And one of the things we've been doing is building a community and a wine club of other people who want to learn about the subject matter, who love to come together and explore and talk. And so monthly with our wine club, not only do they get great bottles of wine every month to go home, they get to come to an educational workshop where once a month Luis does a guided tasting, and we provide a little comedy and so little snacks from Chef Ian, and we have a great time. And now our wine club members, we have over 40 wine club members And they're all local, all community based. And people are like, oh, can I sit with Miss
Yeah.
So-and-so this time? You know, you don't have a table.
That's awesome.
Okay, I'll hop in with Joe.
Yeah.
And Karen, you know. So people are becoming a community of food and wine lovers right here in our Sleepy Beach
And
town.
that is, Suzanne, is something that the hospitality industry should really learn, particularly on the hotel side, to get that neighborhood business, right?
Absolutely. It's, you know, not only are we bringing recurring business because every month our wine club members have to come and pick up their wines.
Mhm.
And most of the time when they come pick up the wines, they'll either grab a meal to go or they'll sit in the dining room with us. But we do these fantastic workshops once a month, which we do them on a Saturday afternoon at 3:00. When we're done, we lead right into dinner. I would say 60% of our guests stay behind for dinner,
Yep.
which is certainly great for business. We offer then the wines that we've sampled for sale at a great price. So we're providing an awesome value in education and great price points and wines and things that they're not going to find in an overwhelming grocery store or big box store aisle, and really getting to understand them and kind of taking them a tour around the world of the different wines that we have. And also once a month, we have started back our 5-course paired wine dinners. So for example, Suzanne was talking about tomorrow evening, we have a dinner with a winemaking family from Umbria in Italy, the Barberani family, where we have these beautiful, high-rated, highly accoladed organic and biodynamic farmed wines coming in to share with our wine club, who we give them a great price to come to these 5-course dinners. They get to be joining the club. They have a better price than the general public. And I would sell our dinners sell about half club members and half people who are like checking out the club. Like
that's pretty good. Suzanne, so how does this all fit into what you're trying to teach your students in your job?
Well, I think this is where the education component comes in, right? So Luis and Jen collectively, especially with their workshops that they're doing, really have this passion for wanting to try and educate not only their guests that are coming into the restaurant, but realizing that you have to generate and create a pipeline of people wanting to be in the hospitality industry. And so that's how our relationship and partnership has started to connect. And actually, we now have Luis on our advisory board to help us support what they're seeing out in the industry in the field and giving us advice as academics to what can we do and change. And so then we create other fun partnerships. And so Jen and I are on a committee together with the Florida Restaurant Lodging Association, and we're doing a Harvest Dines event at the end of this month in October.
Get tickets on the Grove website, thegrovehopesound.com. There's tickets, Harvest Dines.
There we go. We do have to make that obligation to sell our tickets, but
there you go, Jody.
We have now students coming to work and learn with the chefs of these restaurants and help serve the food. And so when we can create these unique opportunities within our industry in partnership together, we start to advance the entire industry, not just one restaurant, not just one school. We're working with 2 high schools. We're working with the college, and this will be something that will continue to happen year after year. But we have to start. And this is what is so great about finding owners that are passionate about not just their business and succeeding, because obviously they are, but they see that whole community as that piece and advancing. And that's what I think is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right. So we got to get to Dylan's question. Then I've got some questions with you on being creative with marketing stuff.
All right, Dylan.
Has your supply chain seen any challenges since the storm last week? Of course, referring to Hurricane Ian.
Oh, not immediately. That I have noticed. I know that our local fishermen didn't go out and fish last week. There was no fishing, so we didn't get our local fish like we have been last week. But I haven't seen anything immediate in that. No, well, that is not true. Last week we missed a shipment of. We had 2 or 3 shipments of wine that were stopped because of it, but it wasn't something.
That's not the end of the world.
It wasn't something that we could quickly rebound from. So.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
So you're very focused on the wine and obviously pairing it with great Italian foods. How are you leveraging that beyond the wine clubs to do some smart marketing?
So my background was actually in digital marketing. I ran a travel blog called Word Traveling. It's still online. You can still see all our family homeschool travels for years. And so I had learned everything from, SEO to email marketing to funneling to, all these great things. And from when we bought the restaurant and we took over the restaurant a year before COVID, before we had a fantastic website, before we had a lot of, followers on Instagram, before we had all of the marketing pieces in play, I had a piece of paper that I gave to every customer that walked in my door. And I said, would you mind sharing your email address with us? We send a once a week email newsletter to keep you abreast of what we're doing. And so we had close to 2,500 email followers before we went into COVID. And so we had been proactive before that. And now we can send an email. Like this past week, we were closed one night for the hurricane. And we thought, well, so then servers aren't making money, staff's short, you've still got the kitchen crew on their salaries. So okay, well, we're never open Sundays, but just for the heck of it, let's open on a Sunday. Right. And great for Luis because he was traveling. He's at the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in Arizona at the moment. So I opened the restaurant with 2 servers, light staff, couple guys in the kitchen, and we sent an email. Hey, we know we're normally closed on Sunday, but let's have Sunday supper together. We're here making up for fun, even. And with a really light staff, we had a family night. It was our regulars that came in who said, oh my gosh, I'm so happy you're here. We always want you to be here on a Sunday and you're not. And so we're like, don't get too used to it. But it was fun just to be here and have a toast of wine, even with a couple folks. And we've got a special month-long Martin County restaurant promotion happening right now. It's called Flavor Martin County. And so we're a part of that. We have a special price fixed 3-course menu. We had a lot of those menus go out on Sunday night for people just having that slow food, relax, take your time experience. And it wasn't a busy dining room by any means, but it was just a real family night. I sat down at every table with every guest that was here that night. My mom brought my beautiful niece in. Awesome. I had friends drive up 40 minutes that said, oh, you're not usually here. And then other couple who brought their kids and with the mayor of Jupiter Island and his wife, who are wonderful, regular folks who ordered pizzas. And then I had my high schoolers on my pizza station, and my server went to them and she says, guys, you're making a pizza for the mayor. It better be good. No intimidation for these high schoolers, but they did a fantastic job. And the night before, we'd had a couple in actually from Milan who called to see if we'd had our famous ossobuco on the menu that night, because we run an ossobuco special sometimes. And the woman had called and, we have ossobuco the night. She walked to the back to congratulate the chef on the amazing ossobuco. And her husband had ordered a pizza, which looked beautiful. And I think my same server had gone to the pizza kitchen and said, guys, you're making a pizza from a guy from Italy, make it great. And so he went over, and at the end of the night, he was so sweet. And just what I remember from being in Italy, and walked to the guys and said, congratulations, you made the perfect pizza. Perfect. Congratulations.
Beautiful. So what style was it? Was it more Italy style pizza that you focus on there, or another region of the United States?
It's just Italian, New York style. Yeah. Nice thin crust, New York style pizza, but they're really great. And we've become so famous for the other things that it's been a really fun place to be able to introduce these young culinarians on the pizza station and say, okay, this is what it takes to run a clean food service operation. This is what prep is. This is what a par level is. This is what, and this is Luis. This is all my husband and his 35 plus years of operations background coming in and really having this desire to train. We call them, the kids, the next generation. And, they get their chef coat and they feel special. And, we just really want to take care of them. So I have, we just feel really blessed. We had one young man who left recently, who was with us for 3 years. Since the day we opened, and he moved away to college, and he started in the dish pit, and then he moved up to busser, and then from busser he moved to pizza, and we had pizza down pat, and then he turned 18, and we're like, do you want to serve tables? You can serve tables now. And he moved up to college, and when he left, I cried. And we had
why? Because you didn't have to pay his tuition?
No. Thank God. But he told us,
my goodness.
and now he keeps in touch with our son, who's actually studying hospitality at University of Central Florida. And they're at the same college, and he helps, and they helped my son unpack, and they keep in touch up there. And he said to my husband, man to man, thanks so much for my job. I was able to save so much that I don't have to work my first year of college. And it's put me in such a great place, but I also learned such great work ethic skills from you that I'm going to take wherever I go, you know? And so just really proud. Shout out.
Fantastic.
To
yeah. Suzanne, let's get
I
you
think
back in.
what I really love is honestly the amount of time that Luis invests with the employees that they have, and even how creative Jen has been with seeing guests or repeat guests and trying to recruit them to come work. And maybe even just, Jen, talk a little bit about how in which you approach having hostesses work for you with a school schedule and your work schedule, and how owners can think creatively as you have to try and embrace the two.
Right. I think, you know, sometimes we have this vision that we have to have a certain full-time employee or somebody has to work 5 days a week, but there are positions that you could have a student work their 15-hour a week schedule and, you know, work a couple days or work even 2 days a week and then alternate it with somebody else. And if we have a multitude of students working with us, then if one of them can't come in for a day, they've got a test, they can email another one or text another friend in our messaging app and say, you know, hey, can you cover my shift? I've got a big test or I've got something coming up. And so we've got positions, you know, hosting at the door, obviously the pizza, helping bus, you know, certain things that really are training a work ethic in this next generation. And I have had Luis and I, because he's really instrumental, like you said, Suzanne, I couldn't do this, nor would I have done this without him, you know, but he has had basketball coaches and football coaches and parents and guidance counselors call us and say, thank you so much for how you're pouring into our students, because they're becoming a better student and a better human by learning work ethic. You know, we have a couple fun stories where we've had to have a couple sit down moments because, you know, when you're dealing with students, you're dealing with students. And so, you know, you have a lot of opportunities for mentorship and sitting them down. And, you know, they don't always work out great. In fact, we had a young student recently that we'd poured into, and Luis had put his heart and soul into this kid and given him, you know, it's the same chain of command. You start as a dish, you move to the busser, you go to the pizza. And one day we got our new uniforms. Everybody's so excited. We're coming to season, new uniforms. He refused to wear his uniform and walked out on the job cussing at Luis. And Luis is going, what? And so there are those moments when you're like, what? But then you turn back around and you see the new ones and you hear from the guidance counselors and you hear from the advisory board committee and what a difference we're making in the lives of everybody else, that we just call it like Teflonic. You have to be like Teflon, like that pan, just let it roll right on off and just keep going.
I like that. Teflonic sounds like sounds like a really good EDM band as well.
Exactly. That's good.
Well, speaking of rolling, maybe even share ways in which you've collaborated with the community to help, for example, Boys and Girls Club and their creation. I think it was a food truck, and giving them guidance to how they could operate and do so safely. And again, continue to engage the spark of spirit in young individuals.
Right. So in the middle of COVID, you know, Boys and Girls Club had shut down. Everybody was shut down and trying to come up with some creative ways to engage students. I think from day one, we made it known that we were here to partner with our community. How can we serve you? How can we help you? How can we, nonprofits, we've been donating and discounting and sending volunteers from the day we opened the restaurant. So when COVID came, we were approached by a couple of different opportunities. One was a very generous customer who said, I want to support this other community, not the Boys and Girls Club, but a different community of some hardship situations over there in their community center. And she said, I want you to make box lunches and deliver them to the community. And I don't want a discount. And I want to do it for the next 3 weeks. And that was before any of the government funding, or it was when nobody knew what was happening. And she just knew that she wanted us to stay in business.
That's
so,
nice.
You know, super grateful for that customer who kept that program going. And now we continue to employ people from that community center and continuing to train and employ them. And at the same time, that got wind through that introduction back to the Boys and Girls Club, that we were doing all these great outreach things. And we actually started and implemented, my homeschooling mom came out and I wrote a curriculum called Hungry for Hospitality that included a 12-week curriculum where we talked about all aspects of the service business, and not just the service business, but becoming a servant leader in your life.
So I got a question for you. How does all of this come together and affect your turnover rate compared to the turnover rates within your community?
That'd be an interesting question that I should bring up at the next board meeting at the Florida Restaurant Lodging. We don't have a ton of turnover. We really have students who stay with us for the long haul. Our chef has been with us 3 years, over 3 years. Our lead server has been with us over 2 years.
Wow.
My amazing marketing assistant, extraordinaire business ambassador, who I pulled from the dining seat one night and said, hey, why don't you come join our team? You keep coming to dinner. You like wine. Ernest has been with us over 2 years now.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And we actually have a gentleman who's been on our team almost 8 months now, who came to apply for a job because he was working at a neighboring location. And when he walked by our location, when we were closing at the end of the night, he said, man, everybody still seemed happy. Like you had smiles on your face while you were cleaning the floors, like what's going on here? So I just think all of those things together certainly affects the turnover rate, and our hope is that if we hire a high school freshman or sophomore, that they're with us and we from day one, let them know, hey, here's Hudson's story. He started as a dishwasher. He moved to the pizza. Then he moved to the busing or the chain of command. And then when he was 18, he was still in high school. And his whole last year of school, we had trained him to be a great hospitalian. And he became a server. And now he went off to college with enough savings that he didn't have to work his first year.
So that is really phenomenal. Suzanne, you got another?
Yeah, no, I think the commitment that way, really, when you see that spirit and that culture that the Reyneris are creating within their family establishment, that's what's making the difference. And that's the cultural mindset that other small business restaurant operators need to really start implementing. Then you're retaining your people, and they're willing to invest their time and their energy and even some scholarship dollars to help their employees get to that next level. And that's what it's about. It's not just, yes, we have this restaurant, but what I love about the fact that the way in which they go about it is they really are looking at it from a holistic standpoint and trying to make some change in their community for our industry.
Right. And I think, Jen, at this point, we talked about how you have become a member of the community, how you're being creative with different programs to get people to come in, how you're creating that neighborhood kind of vibe that gets people to come back over and over again.
Right.
But I'm curious as to what is your thoughts on how to create a great Instagram campaign or some other things like that to keep you in the constant top of mind with your customer base?
I think, we've gone back and forth with different Instagram strategies, right?
Yeah.
And what's working right now on Instagram's algorithm are fun little video reel snippets where you'll just instead of just taking a still photo of your food that day, take a little moving video of your food that day.
Right.
Still use your hashtag. And we're trying to incorporate some of the video with some of our still photography. And we're also, one of our servers does photography outside and is trying to kind of build his portfolio. So we ask him for his help. And so again, we're really trying to pour into our staff and get them involved in helping as well.
Interesting.
I mean, I could be online every day going, hey, it's Jen from the Grove. Come eat
with
us. But for
it's
example,
not the same.
Chef's name is Ian. So last week we had, obviously Ian was a big word across the nation. And so we had Chef Ian doing some fun videos going,
apologizing.
Sorry for Hurricane Ian. Don't be scared of Hurricane Ian. Come have Chef Ian. We'll make you some great food tonight. And so
I'll tell you what, Jen, your reels are getting a magnitude more on Instagram via just a traditional image post. So it's something for all of you out there when you're thinking about how to do campaigns for your hotel or dining establishments.
Right.
Really interesting.
So that's my digital marketing background, kind of always thinking of the mindset you have to do being like a jet ski turning in the water and not a big barge, right? You got to just move and fly.
So Jen, before we let you go, how do you keep so positive and upbeat all the time? I have not met a lot of hotel owners that have your vibe about you.
To be quite honest, it's my faith, my grounded faith in that guy we spoke of earlier. You said Jesus. I said, well, Jesus was Jewish, so he helps me get through every day. I have some dear friends and mentors that I can call on. One came to dinner on that Sunday night, and Luis and I really keep an open, honest dialogue. We don't always agree. As husband and wife running a business, I'm coming from marketing and he's in operations, and we joke back and forth all the time. I'm in marketing, you're in operations, come on, stay on your lane. but really, we do it in fun and together. And I think that part of the reason I can stay so upbeat is because of how involved in our community I am. And I see the difference that it's making, even if it's a small difference. I see a student go to college and say, hey, I don't have to work my first year. I see
it's amazing.
Our son in McConney and his studies and kind of even changing his direction in his path. He always knew he wanted to work in hotels, then changed to move from studying international business to actually studying hospitality. I see our younger son, Luke, is coming and making great pizzas a couple nights a week, and getting excited about baking on a different level of culinary and doing graphics and logos and helping me with signs for the window. So I think that if you just look at the restaurant business right now as a business, it's overwhelming.
Right.
And so I think in order to make it enjoyable and to do that work that is hard work, but at the same time can be fruitful, like the Grove, that you have to take into account the whole big picture. And, you do a chart of your life, right? You can say, okay, this is my business. And we need it to be profitable so that we can pay the payroll and make the rent and all those things. But where is the scale of magnitude and how do you put a price tag on changed a kid's life? That the basketball coach called me and said, you've changed this kid.
That's amazing.
Like where's the, we have a dishwasher who's just family to us. And every day, if it's Luis or myself here or Ernest, we always make him a Cuban coffee. He came from Cuba and has endured great hardship. And we're blessed with our team.
Yeah.
And
that's wonderful.
The team and the community that's seen what we've done.
Awesome. I think that's a great place to leave it. How about a really good pitch? A really good plug, for the Grove.
Thank you so much. Let's see. Come and join us. We're at the Grove Cucina and Wine in Hope Sound, Florida, where you'll enter as a customer and you'll leave as family.
Jen, leave me with some inspiring words on how to make a good garlic knot.
I could do that, but then, how does the saying go? I could tell you, but then I'd have to know. You know what you do?
It's all right. I'm already old enough to be with ARP. I've lived a long life.
No. All kidding aside, if I brought Chef out here and I said, Chef, what's the number one ingredient that goes into every dish that we make?
Garlic.
Love.
Yep. My cooking tip is no matter what it says on the garlic for the ingredients, double it. And then maybe double it again. Jen, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate you.
Much, Glenn, Suzanne, thank you very much, my friend. I'll see you hopefully tomorrow night.
Maybe.
We'll see. We're going to keep it a mystery what's going to happen with Suzanne tomorrow night. All right, this has been a whole lot of fun. Have you eaten over there before?
I actually have, and you know what? When I had a tasting, I brought my colleague Chef Deb with me because we actually had one of our former alum working in the kitchen and doing charcuterie boards for them. And I asked Luis what was his favorite thing, and it was the lamb ragu. And it wasn't something that I would have thought of. And oh my goodness, like I really just want to get back down. So I'm eager for when Anthony gets in town that he tells me, because I keep saying I want to go for dinner. I want to take him for dinner.
Yeah, of course. One day you'll make it there. And it looks like a place I've got to check off my list too. And if you guys want to check things off your list, if you're listening to us on, if you're watching us on video, why not listen to us on audio? Find us, of course, on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. SoundCloud, Google, you know where they are. You're listening to us right now on there. Also, he's at Anthony Hotels. I'm at Traveling Glenn. And if you're listening to us, why not watch us on video? LinkedIn, Facebook, all those kind of good places. Hey, Mike, we're glad to see that you're hungry now. I'm excited. I'm going to go. I've got to get out of here now because tonight starts Yom Kippur, and I am cooking Helene, my wife, and my mom an authentic another Jewish dinner tonight. So that should be fun.
Well, look at you. You're always the culinarian at heart.
Well, I'm getting into I'm getting into the cooking the Jewish foods. It's something I never really did before. I cook much more Italian, being a Long Islander, than There's not too many places to get a good kreplach here on Long Island, but plenty of places to get a good garlic knot. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Remember, you've got one life, so blaze on and
find your passion.
Yeah. See y'all tomorrow.